Hello, and welcome to a brand new live 5 Heart podcast, as well as YouTube, Facebook, Twitter show. I'm your host, Greg Mahochko, and joining me, the man upstairs, as I like to call him. He's bearded, has long hair, and sometimes he wears a robe. God? Not quite. But without him, none of us would be here. He is our founder and fearless leader of CoreNation.com, Mr. John Dam Johnston. Hello, John.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
You know what I am?
You're tired.
I'm hot. That's what I am. I'm
That's what your
freaking
wife
hot.
says.
What the hell?
We're going to get lots more subscribers. Now, wait, do that on camera for the benefit of the viewers at home. Yeah. Now we're
Okay.
talking.
Okay.
James is right there with us tonight, ready for some hardcore pornography.
What would that be?
I'm guessing you just gave us a little taste of it right there.
You know what? I wore real clothes today.
For the first time in how long?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Let's not talk about that.
What was the instance that got you out of the house and forced you into real clothes?
I went to the chiropractor.
Oh, how do you feel?
You know, I think they help my headaches. So
Good.
That's why I go. That's why I go weekly, and I think that they help. Plus, I mean, look at this. This is what I do all day. I lean over a computer like this, and you know, it's not healthy.
Do you have the posture? Like, do you have good posture when you? I mean, probably
No.
not if you're hunched over.
No, that's what I got to work on.
You
Everybody should be working on this.
Everybody, look.
Yeah.
If you're listening, if you're watching this, improve your posture. You'll improve your life.
That is true.
Put that on a shirt, John.
Someday we're going to get back to the shirts. Hey, there's a small child.
Yeah. And he says hi. Okay, now go to bed.
Okay, let's get into this. What's going on? It's almost April.
Yeah. It's by the time most of the people listen to this, it's still March because we have the live audience, of course, the number one audience in all of the internet, and we have the podcast audience, which listens. They awake in anticipation Friday morning like Christmas, and they say, "Get to that podcast app that is mine. Make sure the new 5 Heart is downloaded." Click play. They're listening to it while they're making their coffee. They're listening to it while they're in the shower. You know who you are. And they're listening to it on the way to work. So, yes, by the time that April will have rolled around, everybody will have listened to the show. That's my bet. We are into spring football, but Brian raises an interesting question. He's been busy the last couple of years. Have they disbanded the football program yet?
No, they have not disbanded the Nebraska football program yet. It was taken under consideration in the month of December, but then they said, hell no, we're not doing that. If we did that, what the hell would people do? They'd walk around with just endlessly in their lives with no purpose in the state of Nebraska, at least. And those people that adhere to the state of Nebraska, and then the pipeline jerky people would go bankrupt.
And we can't have that. We need more pipeline. I need more pipeline jerky.
They have not only not disbanded the Nebraska football program, but they have pulled out the stops to make this the biggest offseason ever in the history of Nebraska football.
They have taken active measures to improve the football program.
I mean, literally, they are making all the right moves, just like Tom Cruise.
I remember that movie. Tom Cruise and Leah Thompson.
Leah Thompson, yeah.
Western Pennsylvania, high school football movie. Look, if you're out there, you're like, all the right moves. I've never heard of that. Go on to whatever streaming service may have it. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that work for you right now. All the right moves is on probably Prime.
Well, it's somewhere on a Roku because this
Well, there you
past
go.
week, I had a meeting with fellow IT people, and there was a younger guy involved. And I said, you know what? With all this talk about artificial intelligence, oh my God, Greg just left me. With all this talk about artificial intelligence, you need to watch a movie from 1967. I told this young man called Colossus, the Forbin Project, because that's right where we are with artificial intelligence in our life. Fred Sacco has it right. Craig T. Nelson was the dickhead head coach.
He was.
He did that part. I'm not a big Tom Cruise fan, but that movie was a really good movie. For that kind of a cheesy guy, underdog guy with beautiful Leah Thompson in there.
Tucked away in a secret location in the Rockies, Dr. Charles Forbin has developed a massive computer system dubbed Colossus that is supposed to ensure the nation's safety against nuclear attack. But when Colossus connects to a similar Russian computer, Guardian, the intelligent machines begin conducting a private dialogue. Nervous as to what they might be plotting, Forbin severs the connection, only to have Colossus threaten a nuclear attack if the link isn't restored.
Okay, that's it. Colossus, the Forbin Project. You can watch it on Roku, 1967. Excellent sci-fi movie from that era. That's what we're going to do in the off-season. We're just going to review movies from the old days.
What's still the off-season? We got lots of time.
Oh, that's true. So there's... Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say, Brian, because he threw out the ridiculous notion, says that he figures since there were only 14 of us here so far, he better throw something out there to get John started after his back bending. John, tell me more about your back bending.
You know what? I had to actually really work today. I had servers that didn't work for me, and there's still people. I won't be surprised if I'll start getting texts here in a little bit about why are the servers still not working. But, okay, Nebraska football, they are making all the right moves. They are making all the right moves. And one of those moves. Did you want to bring up the latest right move they've made?
Not yet. I wanted to be proactive in one of the questions we're sure to get later on in the show.
Okay.
Because Fred's here, because he actually says the Forbin Project was part of a trilogy of books, but only one movie was made. But Fred also typically asks what I'm drinking. And tonight I'm drinking my last Smittix. However, the one that I'm really excited to get into a little later, if you think that the beer gets me going crazy, John, I have a treat for you. Guess
Gin
what
and
I'm
tonics. Gin.
No.
Gin.
Guess what I'm bringing to the party tonight? Red Kool-Aid.
Okay.
Because, as we all know, I tend to drink the Kool-Aid. It's a play on words. It's a pun, John. It's a joke.
It's a little early in the year, little early to be drinking that much Kool-Aid, dude.
John, last time we got together,
it's difficult. Yeah.
Last time, wasn't that when we said how are we gonna do next year? And I said 12-0. And you were like 6-6, 9-3 maybe. I was like, no, 12-0. You gotta believe. You gotta want it. Do you think that Matt Rhule goes into the locker room in these spring practices? Guys, I can't wait to go 6-6. No. This coaching staff is putting together a plan to run the table. And when they do, I will have said it first right here on the Five Heart Podcast that I called it all the way back in March.
That we're going to be 12-0 next season.
This guy.
Okay.
I'm the first lunatic. John, do you drink Yoo-Hoo by the case?
I don't know what Yoo-Hoo is.
It is chocolate-flavored water.
Oh, God, that just sounds terrible.
You've never had a Yoo-Hoo?
I don't think so, no.
Hold on.
The Yoo-Hoo does not sound familiar.
What? Hold on. How is this even? Oh, stupid WebP file.
What are you doing? Looking up Yoo-Hoo?
I'm trying to find a picture of Yoo-Hoo for you. It is legit a chocolate-flavored drink. It's not chocolate milk. It has no nutritional value. I just need to find... Okay, all right.
Okay.
I'm on it.
Wait. Okay. While you're
Keep
doing
going.
that,
Yes, you're doing great.
can
You're
I
the
bring
man.
up the latest news?
By golly, I hope so.
Okay, Fred Solich. Jesus. Okay, there you go. That's Yoo-hoo. It looks gross. Chocolate drink.
Shake it. You got to shake it.
Shake it. Okay. Fred Solich, brother of Frank Solich, is going to be accompanying Frank Solich to the spring game this year. And there's a lot of talk about it. I'm excited to go to the spring game.
Wait. I'm sorry. Can you say that again? I got confused by all the Soliches. Fred Solich, who's Frank Solich's brother.
My words are escaping me.
Okay.
I don't know if Frank doesn't have a brother, Fred. Frank Solich is returning to Nebraska for the spring game.
I saw
there
that.
is much talk about lifting the curse. So I want to know from you guys that are here, the 21 of you that are here live, what do you think about this curse thing with Frank Solich? Give us some feedback on that.
And I hear thunder rumbling outside, so we are anticipating some storm activity. Can I share a quick story, John? While the people are deliberating in the comments about the
curse.
Curse. Thank you.
The curse.
As you know, I was not here last week. As our dutiful fans know, we were not here last week because I was not here.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah. But last Friday, my family and I departed Lake Buena Vista, Florida, Disney World, to come home. It was a 2-day drive, which we had planned. We avoided Georgia because we didn't want to deal with the traffic in Atlanta, etc., and we drove through Alabama. And the goal was, well, as I think it is the case in many road trips, let's just see how far we can get. And if we would have decided to get all the way back to southern Illinois, just outside the St. Louis metro area, we would have got home about 3 in the morning Saturday. If we would have gone to Nashville, it would have been about 10:30 at night. And I said, yeah, 3 o'clock's definitely not going to happen. Let's see. I didn't want to try to have the boys fall asleep in the back of the van and try to wake them up to get them into a hotel and then them not fall asleep. So we found a room. There was one single room in all of Alabama, apparently, in a little, very, I guess, scenic community called Guntersville. Have you ever heard of Guntersville, John?
Oh yeah, I was there a couple weeks ago.
Liar. It's southeast of Huntsville, Alabama. And we got everybody fell asleep, no problem. Come to find out that we were about 40 minutes off the interstate, and sometime in the overnight hours, tornadoes went through Mississippi and Alabama. Those tornadoes in Mississippi ended up, unfortunately, 23, 25 people lost their lives in Mississippi. We didn't know anything about it until we got back on the road Saturday morning, where we found they had cut trees that had crossed over the road. Trees were uprooted. Trees were on power lines. We're like, oh, we were not that far away from harm. So we felt very fortunate. I don't know how because I heard the thunder outside spawned the whole story. Very happy to be here with you, John. Somebody above, not you, was looking out for me. So let's talk about that curse, shall we?
I like the fact that you think that I'm going to be up there instead of down there. Anyway, go ahead.
Well,
the
so
curse. People have chimed in.
Here's the thing.
I
know your wife, and I know that she's worked too hard for you. She's put in the work for the both of you. So, yeah, you'll whatever her upstairs is, if you know what I mean. You'll either be there or you won't, depending on what she has chosen. All right.
Yeah, you should move on to the comments, Greg.
I will move on to the comments. All right. So we have terrible, just terrible, and I've pinned a few other ones from him throughout the course of the evening so far. He says the curse will be lifted and we win the college football playoff next year. I like.
That's very optimistic.
That is.
Kool-Aid-ish.
I like.
That's like overdosing already in the end of March, for God's sakes.
John, it's okay.
Okay.
It's only overdosing if you die.
You know, I just worry about you guys' health when you do that.
Why?
Too much sugar, bad for the liver.
Okay.
Then you got to start probably putting things in your Kool-Aid later on.
James Marshall says the curse is real. Wait, when did...
He doesn't offer any explanation. He just says the curse is real.
That's all right. Fred Sacco jumps in and says, I don't think it's a curse so much as karma. 9-3 under Frank wasn't good for some, so we got the change many wanted, just not the way they hoped. That's fair. And also, we had a lot of 9-3, 10-3 with bowl game seasons under Bo Pelini, but the temperament wasn't right. The fit wasn't right. And of course, I don't need to rehash those years, but the losses were sometimes catastrophic losses. So, the dog just plopped down by me. I didn't expect that. Brian back in says Trev will have to sacrifice a little red at the 50-yard line along with Frank to lift the curse. Wait, timeout. I need clarification on this. Okay, wait. I think he answered it in a later comment. I guess I was going to say, are we sacrificing Frank? No. He says that's a no on sacrificing Frank. Frank just needs to be there.
So much little red hate.
Frank must sacrifice his pleated khakis to lift the curse. Interesting. We're hating on fashion now. Back to Kool-Aid. Fred says Rhule will drink red Kool-Aid from Little Red Skull.
Wow. Holy shit. There's a lot of there's a lot of desperation in that. Good God.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think there's desperation. I think there's humor.
Okay.
I think you can say, hyperbolic statements like that and it'd be okay. Am I incorrect, you think?
No, it's okay, yes.
Okay.
James Marshall comes back and says the proof is in the past 20 years. I think
the proof of the curse.
Yeah, the proof of the curse. I think that I get it. I like the idea of a curse, and I should play with that, but unfortunately my mind's not going there. My mind's just still stuck in this very serious IT mode I've been in all day for some reason. I would say that our past 20 years are marred by shitty hires, especially two dipshit athletic directors that fired coaches when they were 9-3 and didn't wait one season where they probably wouldn't have had that good a record, and they would have been more justified in firing those coaches. I mean, I think that bringing back Frank Solich for the spring game, I think it's exciting. I think it's neat. I think it's long overdue. Frank needs to be recognized for, he wasn't just a coach on his own. He was on the Osborne staff for years.
And he was a player.
Played for Nebraska, yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of nice to, get the band back together. But, my God, they are making all the right moves in the offseason with this stuff.
Let me ask you this. This is Frank's second offseason, right, since he retired? Did he retire at the end of the 21 season?
Yeah. I
think it's good timing. I don't think you necessarily needed to parade him out, trot him out last spring.
No.
So I really do think, again, clean slate, new staff, a lot more excitement this offseason than last offseason. So I think it's a good time. I think the timing's right. You're right. It's unfortunate. But at the same time, how are you going to bring back a coach who's an active Division I head football coach who has their own games and season, has their own spring prep?
Right.
Unless bringing him out to a men's basketball game doesn't have as much, doesn't carry as much weight. So again, everything about this is I'm in favor of. I remember I was in Chadron. I was up in Nebraska when he got fired. Like, I was there for a Frank Solich year. I think just one. And so, like, maybe I'm to blame. I don't know.
What I remember most of what strikes me about Frank is I was actually working a lot at Winona State University, and they had a coach down there named Tom Sawyer, believe it or not. And he won a national title, Division II. But I remember when Frank went 7-7 that one season, and I walked in, and Tom knew who I was because, I'd run into him and we talked about football before, and him and his assistant coaches grabbed me and drugged me into their office, and they're like, "What are you guys going to do with Frank Solich? We love him, and he went 500 at Nebraska. It sounds like everybody's going insane." And that's always what I remember most about, honestly, Frank. Outside of the football games, but I think the thing that bothers me somewhat about when people discuss Frank Solich, you get a lot of these guys like my age, and they're like, "We should have never fired Frank." And I think that's a little dishonest, because the honest to God truth is, when Frank went 500 that season, everybody went ballistic. Mm-hmm. And everybody was insane, because it was the first 500 season. It was the first, time we hadn't won 9 games since 1961. Right. And but that's just history.
A couple things here. Fred says Frank will challenge the team to a push-up competition and win, thereby lifting the curse. Beetle B says, race is an interesting point. You just mentioned the older fans, but Beetle B says, I want to know how this is going to change anything. Our fans probably don't remember much of Frank unless they are older. Frank Solich is not a name to get recruits into town. I don't think. But it's a nice, not every gesture, not every returning, legend, however you want to define a legend. I don't think that has to necessarily move the needle. I think sometimes there can just be nice gestures for the sake of nice gestures.
I think it changes. How is this going to change anything? I think it changes things for people looking at Frank Solich with a lot of respect. Probably older people, obviously, like me, but looking at Frank Solich with a lot of respect and saying that guy did a lot for Nebraska when he was here, and please have him show up so there's nothing else we can clap for him and show our appreciation for him. And then we can just kind of put this behind us. And I guess, from that standpoint, James Marshall is right when he says the curse is real, because, it does go. I think we all recognize that Steve Peterson was a complete dipshit when he fired Frank at 9-3. And I think that's hung over this program for a very long time. And for Frank Solich to show up on the field and have people cheer for him and yell for him, I think it's almost like a forgiveness of a wrong. I think it's for us. Trev Alberts said that he talked to Frank, and Frank didn't want to do it. And then Trev said, "What about for the fans?" And that's really kind of what this is. This is for us fans that look at this and said, "You know what? You got done dirty, and we would like you to show up so we can say we're sorry. Even though we had no part in, firing your ass, we can at least say thank you, Frank, for being a Nebraska coach and doing all the things you did for the program." So that's what it is.
And the for you internet comment section people who understand the slang, TLDR, James buttons it up and says it's healing for the fans and hopefully healing for Frank.
Yeah.
It is. It's cathartic. It's all right, so I've got one here. Speaking about the curse, Brian says a program that had a record for consecutive bowl appearances or close to it, then being the only Power 5 to go bowlless the last 6 years, is definitely cursed, or cursed with a period of incompetence And there's the argument for both. And we don't want it to become like the curse of the Bambino, right? We don't want it to be almost 100 years of sadness because we let a guy go.
That would be a
'cause that's
long
what happened to
time.
the Boston Red Sox.
That would be a long time.
Yeah. Luckily, you'd still be around.
Yeah, exactly. Wait.
Not me. Wait.
Wait.
You're like, I'm not going anywhere. Now, 100 years from now, if that were the case, 80, I guess now, years from now, after that final horn sounded and Nebraska, trotted off or trotted to the center field victorious, the ticker tape's coming down, the scarlet and cream confetti, that's when John finally goes peacefully in his chair.
I'll only be lucid during football season. For the rest of the time, I'll be complete dementia thing.
It'd be like if we could put you in a state of like a cryo suspension during the off season.
Oh my God.
No, but we talk about like there's two big curses, right? In sports, there's the curse of the Bambino and the curse of the goat, right? The Chicago Cubs. First of all, this curse doesn't even have a catchy name, so I don't know how long a curse has to be around for it to have a name. I don't think it's going to matter because the curse is going to be broken in 2023, John.
There's still time. We could talk about it in past tense. Hey, remember when we broke the curse of... We could come up with a catchy phrase. I'll work on that.
Well, then let's do it. All right.
No, not right now. Not right now, for God's sakes. Okay, I'm about creatively brain dead.
All right. So Brian says, what are we thinking? Not Little Red. We need to find Steve Peterson and let Franklin Little Red tar and feather him at midfield.
I don't think he ever comes back to Nebraska ever.
Steve Peterson?
Yeah, no.
Sean Eichhorst either.
Nope.
The guys who and honestly, I think there's like Mike Riley's not coming back.
Well, he's got things to do.
Yeah, I mean, ACFL or whatever.
What's he doing? He's coaching
USFL. Yeah, sorry, I got the wrong minor league football organization. I'm sorry. Bo Pelini's never coming back.
Oh,
could you imagine? Maybe not this year, but like a couple of years from now, as a surprise that's completely unannounced, Bo Pelini comes out of the tunnel at the spring game holding another cat above his head.
It would be fun. It would be. Okay.
All right.
You're gonna go through some more comments, and then I'm gonna show a graphic. I have a graphic.
Thank you.
I have two graphics.
We do. Brian again, and this is in no particular order. They're all good, but this was, I don't know, the shortest. Brian says he has high hopes. Rhule is at least aiming for shooting for better than mediocrity in his pep talks. I think, the type of speaker and maybe motivator that Matt Rhule is going to be far and above better than what we've had. He seems to be very competent at the podium, and I think that type of confidence has to carry over to the locker room, or maybe it starts at the locker room and carries over to the podium. So,
it is the little details. I mean, they literally are taking care of all the little details, where before we just heard that and it was just kind of like blah, 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 blah,
yeah.
blah.
So here's an old pro wrestling reference. Bo would come out, hit Rhule with the chair, then rip off his Husker hoodie to reveal an NWO shirt. Okay. Actually, it would probably be an Iowa shirt in the context of college football.
Wow. I guess that would be something to see on TV, and there'd be plenty of memes coming out of it.
That would be like, look, he's teetered on that line of being a heel for a long time. That would be a total heel move. All right, we got some more here. Beetle B said very early on, "What's up, everyone? 75 in Lincoln today. So excited to see the spring game. Different offense?" Now, John, The reason I highlighted this one is because you just did a little offense preview, I would very much like your thoughts on what potential this offense has. And I think I know one of the main talking points is going to be it all hinges on that offensive line.
It does. Well, Marcus Satterfield has said that he is going to have a physical run game, which is music to our ears. He's going to have a fullback. He's going to have a positionless offense. Receivers can be running backs can be receivers, and tight ends can be whatever the hell they want. And really what that says to me, I didn't really go into that in the video. What that really says to me is a lot of stuff where misdirection is happening, or maybe option type stuff going on, moving guys around a lot and just confusing the hell out of the defense. Yes, Greg.
Is this another situation where we have 4 different Wan'Dale Robinsons who get killed going over the middle?
No, because we have gobs of guys.
And that doesn't, okay, I understand the depth.
Well,
maybe that's why we have the gobs of guys.
Well, put it this way. Like Ramir Johnson, I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson wasn't a big guy. And to ask him to stand in and do pass protection, was really kind of stupid. And to ask him to carry the load at both receiver and running back was monumentally stupid too. The one thing this team has probably left over from that guy we fired is an abundance of skill players that I think are fairly decent. And we certainly have a lot of different running backs. And I mean, what are you going to do when we put Ramir Johnson and Gabe Ervin and, I don't know. I'd name a third running back. I had one, A.J. Allen in the backfield all
Anthony
at the
Grant.
same time. Yeah. I mean, I think I am nervous about it because he said we're going to have a fullback. I just want to see it. You know what I mean? I think that
I know it. You are so.
I'm hurt.
Well, you're so
not ready to love again.
You were talking about it. I have to get this thought out, otherwise I won't. You were talking about it on the Monday Night Therapy with John and Todd about how you don't just want to see a lineman lined up in the back for blocking. You want to trap.
Yeah, Todd said that, I think. I mean,
sorry.
I did say 2 of the things in the video. I think that, and I'm not making that up, and it's not a joke. If we can see our lineman pull, I think that that's a sign that we're going to actually have a decent offense. Now, the problem is that we're going to be able to keep our linemen healthy.
Because as many skill players as we have, we are not deep on the offensive line.
We're not.
Fred says, would this make our style offensively fluid? And he says, that sounds dirty now that I reread it.
Perhaps.
I don't know how it would.
I think
Fred. Sometimes I think we'd get along in real life, Fred. But man, I'm a little scared to know you better. All right, answer the question.
Would this make our style offensively fluid? Yes, it would. I mean, if you're going to have like positionless offense, I guess that's what I see is not just motion around, but guys, a lot of movement going on with how you're running your plays and a lot of misdirection. I love misdirection stuff. I really do. Counters, stuff like that. And I hope that that's the offense we run.
And maybe the with the depth that they have at the skill positions, I almost wonder if it's going to be like the Henry Ford philosophy of interchangeable parts. Like you have so many guys, and I'm not saying that all guys are equal. That every guy in the running back or receiver room, they're all, I think they all have the potential, but they're all on different levels. Anthony Grant, because of his age, experience, and the fact that he was the go-to guy last year, he's going to be a little bit ahead of maybe some other guys. I've heard Matt Rhule say very positive things about Gabe Ervin, so maybe he's got a little step. But if you have the ability to mix and match, where I don't know how it works at your supermarket, John, but in my supermarket's meat department, man, I can mix and match 4 packs for $20, and it doesn't matter if they're pork steaks, roast, pack of brats, chicken quarters. It doesn't matter. I can get 4 for $20. That's the mix and match guarantee.
Okay.
Y'all have pork steaks up there in Minneapolis?
We don't eat a lot of pork.
Okay.
If it was up to me, we'd be eating a lot more pork chops, but it's not always up to me.
Fred followed up and says, if the O-line is as bad as last year, that's the ball game right there. Got to at least not be a detriment. And I think you looked at the numbers, maybe the advanced stats last year, and how many points the offensive line cost us and how many games ended up being losses because of detrimental play at the offensive line. So, Fred's onto something there.
Well, I mean, the assumption is that, oh my God, which Raiola is our coach? There's too damn many Raiolas.
Donovan.
You know what I mean? If he's going to be a good offensive line coach, I think that's really what. If you had to boil 2023 down to like one sentence, that's it. Is that one Raiola guy going to be a good offensive line coach? Because it really comes down to how good our season is going to be, I think, on how well they can teach. You know what? How well they can teach Bryce Benhart to be an offensive tackle. If you really wanted to be extremely specific about it.
I want you to wrap your head around the fact that in 2026, just 3 years and change away, we could have 3 Raiolas in the Nebraska football program.
Why 3?
We'd have Donovan.
Yeah.
Dylan.
Yeah.
And the younger brother that also has an offer. He's a 2026 grad.
Does his name start with D?
Probably. We're all screwed.
Darren.
Is it?
I have no idea.
Son of a...
Dilly Dally. It's a double D.
All right. Dayton.
Dayton. Of course. Oh, my God.
The younger brother of top prospect Dylan. All right. Speaking of quarterbacks, Deion Pryor says, what's Nebraska's future strategy for recruiting QBs? If we don't get that kid from Arizona, that puts us behind. And then face orange raised eyebrow. I'm pretty sure he put in an emoji that didn't carry over.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay. Well, I think you try to take at least one a year. And, I mean, right now Nebraska's pretty stacked in the quarterback room. And
right.
if we miss a year, I mean, if you look around out there, quarterbacks are transferring all over the place all the time. I don't think you want to rely on a transfer quarterback, but they transfer so often you can't depend on a guy being in your program for 4 years. Unless you're, I guess, really successful and he's the guy. But
yeah,
the future strategy is this. We have... who is it? Richard Torres has yet to play it down. And right. I mean, he's only a year away. So if you miss a year, I guess I don't think it's that big a detriment.
Fred with a good point here. There's almost as many Raiolas as there were Cottons.
I'll go back to that Deion's comment. I think what worries me about the whole Dylan Raiola thing is that that name is so... It's so prominent in our recruiting, and it's so prominent when you go Husker football, Dylan Raiola. We literally have almost forgotten about the fact that there's a 2023 year that really doesn't involve him other than a commitment. So, right. And the other thing is so many people are like, oh, we need to get this number one guy, and are expectations going to be dashed, and are you going to feel bad about the program if we don't get him? I mean... yeah, that's the problem is, yes, people are. They're going to feel like let down, and it's really kind of silly.
But you and Todd made a good point on Monday night's show, Monday Night Therapy with John and Todd, that let's go back to this past weekend. It was the single biggest football recruiting weekend in Nebraska history.
Right.
Dylan Raiola was there. And the tight end from Ainsworth was there, whose name continues to escape us.
Carter Nelson?
Well, sure. I heard this under good authority that his dad is a football coach and a bit of a hard ass. And that Carter, like his dad, has the middle initial T. Carter T. Nelson.
Oh, my God.
It's a callback, John. You're supposed to...
It's a horrible joke. It is a terrible joke. God,
Thank you.
I am wounded, sir.
And you know what? I heard that Carter also has all the right moves. No, but you see, it's I'm going to use a trademark or license name, and I apologize. I'm not trying to equate 18-year-old kids in high school who are looking at trying to decide what college to go to what the greatest generation went through. But it's sort of a band of brothers with Dylan and this crew of 4- and 5-star players who he has surrounded himself with. And as you and Todd discussed, there is that feeling that where one goes, the others will follow. So it's not just Dylan that we're courting; it's that entire crew. And so that's, I think, where the disappointment factor may lie, because if Dylan goes elsewhere, God forbid, then we're not just missing out on top prospect and quarterback, but 9, 10, top players, top targets at their position. So I don't know if it's a package deal. Obviously
Right.
There's nuance and things like that we're not in on, but I think that is a big feeling that, look, like, if you can't get a family member of a guy on your coaching staff to come to your school, and I don't, maybe it's because Nebraska, the shine hasn't been on Nebraska, or maybe, the spotlight's been on, but in a negative way. So I get it. There are better programs out there in 2023. But your Uncle Donovan, he ain't coaching at those other programs. You have family. You're a legacy player, and you have the ability to, be with family, help turn the ship around. Like I've never, I don't know if I've stressed this enough on the 5 Heart podcast over the years. I've never been courted, wined and dined, and recruited by anybody in anything. Like, I was not athletically gifted at all. So I don't understand that process. I don't understand that mentality. But you're telling me that the program that, my father went to, like, my dad was a good athlete. Unfortunately, I didn't get any of that ability. My sister did, but I didn't. And I wanted to go to the same high school that he did, just for that rub, just for that legacy feeling. We were not living in the same community at the time, so that was not a possibility. It wasn't like college. You're telling me that, I have the ability to go to the school that my dad played at, where he, I'm pretty sure, didn't he win a national championship at one point? Dominic Rhule? Wasn't he on the 97 team?
Oh my God, that just came out of nowhere. You were talking about your dad.
No, I was talking about your dad. I mean, not your dad. I'm putting myself in Dylan Rayola's shoes.
No, I don't think he did.
Okay, well, regardless, he was a year late.
No, he was before that. Oh my God,
He's that.
I'm just now Dominic Rhule. Let's say born 14 career year. He was second round draft pick of the Detroit Lions in the 2001 NFL draft. Played his entire 14-year career for the Lions. So he would have been, he might have been around for 97.
Yeah, okay. So that's what I'm holding. But if I'm Dylan Raiola, let me go back and preface all that by saying, if I'm Dylan Raiola and I have the ability to go to the school that helped launch my dad's NFL career and help the program turn it around and return it to its former glory, I see that as a challenge worth accepting.
Yeah, and then there's that idea that you want to go someplace and forge your own path. And then there's this idea that there's nil and you can make $5 million of being a freshman quarterback. There's so many things.
Beetle B with a couple back-to-back comments that are really good I want to address. We have banked on top prospects. If we're 6-6, they will move on. Beetle B goes on to say, if we suck next year, they'll be out of here. I don't disagree.
I don't think so.
No?
No, I think when you're a player, when you're a kid, listen, I think when you're a competitive young man and you look at a football team and you look at it and you go, you know what? They'll be 9-3 with me at the least. I mean, that's if you have that attitude that I can make these guys better, I think it's listen, these are like 18, 19, 17-year-old young guys. They might go someplace because they like the color red or they like the color green. So everybody has all sorts of different reasons for committing to a place. You might feel comfortable there. You might like your position coach. If you talk to some of these guys, a lot of them really have to have a relationship with their position coaches or they're not doing anything. It doesn't matter what the record is. But if you look at a team like Nebraska, I think when you look at Matt Rhule, God help me, I'm going to say this. We just went through this with a guy we fired thinking he was going to save everything. But I think Matt Rhule, when you look at it, like I said, they're making all the right moves.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he should be able to be successful at Nebraska. And if you look at that and you go, you know what, I'm the one going to be the guy that's going to be remembered for putting them over the top because I'm going to be the first Remington Award winner since, well, Dominic Raiola, probably.
Right.
Right. So it's about being competitive. And I there is this thing that I think years ago started in the NBA where all the players are like, let's all get together on the same team and win a title.
Right.
And that's what Alabama has done successfully. But then you also get these guys that are like, I'm going to go someplace where I can play right away and I can make an impact and I can be the guy. So if we go 6-6 and the program looks like a bucket of shit, like if we're honest, the first year under our guy that we fired, then they're not going to commit to that. But if we go 6-6 and, the games are competitive and the reason we're losing is because our offensive line needs work, then I think that that's not going to be a problem.
Let's not forget, though, that 6-6 is still an improvement and still bowl eligible.
It is. That's so sad.
A lot of people are tired of the hand-wringing and hero worship for big-name recruits anymore. If they want to be here, great. If not, hell with it. And I don't disagree with that either. I echo Todd's sentiment. Nebraska fans are a little too eager, to jump on social media and throw a follow to a 17 or 18-year-old kid in hopes that that is somehow going to direct them to Lincoln. And so first of all, I don't follow players anyway. And I advise you all not to at the same time. But I don't, similar to Todd, I'm not super invested in them until they're on campus, until they've been to practice, until they've gone to class. It's fun to, be like, oh, sure would be nice if Dylan Raiola, came here and brought Carson T. Nelson and the gang. But it's I've done that too often, and I've been hurt too many times, John.
Yeah.
So, all right. So James has this one, a recruiting note that Huskers are keeping an eye on Dante Reno, 2024 four-star QB that Satterfield was recruiting in South Carolina.
I like the name.
Dante Reno?
Yeah, it just flows off your mouth.
It really...
Dante Reno with the touchdown!
Okay. We got to jump into the main here. Fred says that if you follow John, if John followed me, for those of you listening to this and not watching, if John followed me, I'd file a restraining order. Now,
get in line.
Now, what I want more than anything is to acquire the password to the Coronation, the official Coronation Twitter, and find Fred and throw him a follow, just to see if he'd go through. Because restraining orders, you got to get lawyers involved. It's not cheap. There's going to be legal fees, and I just want to see if he'd follow through, or if he'd just throw you a block.
Can we show the graphic now?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to start with this one, and then I have another one.
Oh, you didn't tell me about the other one.
Yeah, I just put it up.
Is it the Yoo-Hoo drink?
No.
Okay.
Stuart Mandel tweets, Colorado has sold out its spring game, which will have a capacity of 45,000 people. The school's previous high for spring game was 17,800. Last year, under 2,000. What do you make of that, Greg? What do you guys in the comment? What do you guys chatter guys make of that?
You think we could call our Five Heart fans instead of Marcus Satterfield the Chatterfields?
We probably could.
I like it. It just goes to show that, again, for 1 year, there's a little bit of shine in Boulder, but the bloom is going to be off the rose this time next year. They're not going anywhere. Last year's attendance was under 2,000. Think about that. I think we would have had 30,000. I'm trying to remember how many we had in 2021, which was pandemic. They had some in attendance, and in a pandemic, we had more than what they had last year, just for last year under bad coach with a bad program. The only reason that Colorado fans care at all is curiosity. That's all it is.
Well, yeah, he is bringing buzz to their program they haven't seen in decades.
Sure, but I think I've used this statement before. All sizzle, no steak. In Colorado, which is fine because in Boulder they're probably mostly vegans anyway.
I pronounce that as vegan.
You would.
Yeah, it really irritates my kids when I say that. I ain't no vegan. It's
Jack,
vegan, Dad.
Jack the Ripper, who is back, by the way, wanted to make their return known. We're back, too, because we weren't here last week. But he says, does Dion have any eligibility left? No. And also says, plenty of weed in Boulder. Give it away, and the fans won't care who wins.
Well, yes, that is true.
Prime
Should I go
time
with the other one? Oh, go
not
ahead.
Yet. Joel Tilson, hi Joel, says prime time is a joke. Nobody disagrees. Well, I don't think he's a joke. I want to make sure I'm very clear on this. I think Colorado is a joke, and I think Colorado is getting what they wanted out of hiring Deion Sanders, which is a publicity, some headlines, things like that. I don't think that they're going to succeed, and I don't think he's going to be there very long. I think he'll move on to greener pastures. He'll find that it's not working. I think as a businessman, Deion Sanders is smart enough to get out before his brand can be diminished. Does that make sense?
Well, I wonder if they have any money to actually pay him.
That too. There was one here. I got to find it. Jack was in London keeping. Oh Lord, I'm not going to read that one. I shouldn't have read as much as I did. Fred says it goes to show that Colorado has no gravitas or tradition. They're like a teenager who has his first beer, loud and amusing for 1 second, then forgotten the next. That's a good metaphor, John.
That is a line. That's a good line. You should remember that. Write that down.
I'm not. I don't even have a pen. John, you write it down.
I can't write.
Okay.
My writing looks like a 90-year-old meth addict.
The good news is it's
a fix.
It's been saved forever in the world of YouTube and podcasts.
Can I show my other graphic?
Wait, let me see what it is first.
You can't.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. John Bishop, who is the voice of Creighton basketball, I believe, he put out a Twitter poll today, and it says ticket sales are around 50,000 for the spring game. What best describes your attitude, non-attendance of the spring game? And then he has four options.
Your attendance or non-attendance, not attitude.
Your attendance or non-attendance. He gives four options. Plan to go, you bought tickets, have other plans, rather watch on TV, and not interested. And, plan to go is around 24%, have other plans is around 10%, rather watch on TV 36%, but not interested is 30%.
I'm going to stop you right there.
What?
As you mentioned, he's the voice of Creighton basketball, so those are his Creighton fans.
But a lot of Nebraska, I think there's a lot of Nebraska fans following him too, I'm sure.
I agree, but the 30%.
But aren't Creighton fans Nebraska football fans? All them damn Jasker people?
Not all of them. Some of them are like ostriches with their heads stuck in the sand. They only come out in mid-October, and then they disappear apparently in the second week of March or third.
You
week
think
of March.
that's what that not interested thing is?
I think that is his Creighton base, not his Nebraska or even Jasker base. Now look, here's the thing.
Because I can't believe that nobody's interested. People are not interested in this spring game. That doesn't even register with me, Greg.
Me either, John. I'll be watching, buddy. What is it? April 22nd, right?
Yeah, April 22nd. I saw this and I saw how not interested was that high, and I thought, okay, there's got to be a lot of Nebraska fans, the football fans that follow John Bishop, and it can't be 30% not interested.
Well, let me
Right?
do the.
You know what I think these are?
Can I do the math,
Russian
John?
Russian bots screwing with America's best culture.
Probably. So, out of the 577 votes, as of that time, whenever you did the screenshot, 30% is 173.
Okay.
So that's not much. I'm sure in the great state of Nebraska, there's 173 people who are not interested, be it they're crazy-ass Creighton fans, or they are ranchers who are going to be out with the cattle, or they're farmers if they're on the eastern half who are going to be out in the fields. Like, people have other things to do. Not everybody is dedicated like you, me, and the good people here, the Chatterfields.
Is April 22nd calving season? I thought that was earlier.
I didn't say calving. I said there's other. Hey, man, farming and ranching, that's a 24/7, 365-day job right there. I'll tell you what.
Okay. All right.
We got more. Can we get back to the offensive line? A couple of comments
Okay.
that I want to make sure we don't forget completely. James Boardman says one of the media guys said Bryce Benhart, who we mentioned earlier, is looking leaner. Hopefully it helps him move better after the snap. Good point there, after the snap. And then Brian Bauer followed up and said that they showed a photo of our linemen at practice. I thought they looked trimmer and hopefully in better shape. No references were made to how many times they've been puking.
Well, the complaint with the other strength and conditioning coach was that he just wanted guys to be like strong, and he doesn't really, put any basis on like power and performance. So, strength and conditioning plays a huge part in this too. Matt Rhule did say he was nowhere near putting out a depth chart and probably wouldn't have one for spring because they're still moving guys around and trying to figure out where everything's going to fit, which makes a lot of sense. And it's kind of, again, very optimistic because you kind of look at him and go, what do you mean? You're going to look at your team and figure out how you can make something of them, and instead of just forcing them into what you think they should be, a la Wan'Dale Robinson doesn't stay and leaves and goes to Kentucky.
Right. Now he's in the NFL?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm combing through some of the comments here. Fred with a good one. A little callback to a few minutes ago. 5 hearts, 0 pens. Because we are penniless. I don't know if you remember that conversation from a few minutes ago. Oh, okay.
I'm looking at the offensive line.
Okay. Beetle B says they'll be there, only 10 blocks away from Memorial. Is that I feel like that's walking distance, but I don't know what a quote-unquote city block is. Is it better just walk to okay.
Yes.
Cool.
You're not parking unless you go like at 7 in the morning or something, where
You're
you
not
have
parking.
a parking pass ahead of time. I am parking.
I know you are. James says there's going to be more than 173 people on one sideline.
That's true.
That is true. And Beetle B says spring game will be sold out. Promise. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a terrific showing. I think, look, we are gluttons for punishment at times, but I don't think any fan base bounces back quite like Nebraska as far as you can dash all of our hopes and stomp on our hearts in October and November, we'll see you in April. It's you can set your watch by it. We are nothing if not loyal.
I think if you look at the offensive line, you'd look at Teddy Prohaska, Nuruddin Newili, guard, Ben Scott, center, Turner Corcoran, guard, Bryce Benhart, tackle. And those, if they, like I said, if they can get Bryce Benhart to be a serviceable tackle, this is not a horrible looking offensive line, at least from, maybe getting something out of them. Nuruddin Newili, I think he was pretty decent. Well, on the other hand, we watched a team win like 6 games in 2 years or something like that. So I guess I'm drinking the Kool-Aid too. But then you go down to the second level. I mean, you've got Ezra Miller, Henry Latosky, Jacob Hood, who the transfer guy, Ethan Piper. Some of these guys really haven't seen the field. So the offensive line dudes, the coaches and the players have their work cut out for them.
Matt Hansen, good to see you back again with us this week. Matt says, I'm impressed with Trev Albert so far. Best AD they've had in a while.
Well, he is the one making the right moves. I mean, they're doing just about everything right. It's almost like they care and they're paying attention to shit.
And I don't disagree with Matt's assessment. However, I will say that the bar was not set especially high in recent years.
No, it wasn't.
So Fred is here with a couple of gems. Number one being Lady Chatterfield's Lover, as written by our very own John Johnston. Although, if you want to put that under a pen name, I feel like that you'd probably sell more copies if it was by Joan Johnston.
Joan, yeah.
I can't wait. Can't wait to see what airbrushed, shirtless, long-haired Fabio-esque Husker you have adorning. Herbie. Shirtless about? Herbie on the cover of your lady novel there.
Okay.
And then a good one here from Fred. I think a nice name for this bunch, the Codependent Chatterfields. So.
Well, what else we got? What else going on to spring ball?
Tell me. I was going to move on to a different sport, at least temporarily. Tell me about baseball, John.
Well,
they beat North Dakota State.
They did, but that's a midweek game.
I don't care.
Those are development games for the pitchers, I think, mostly. Yeah, it is.
They took 2 out of 3 of Illinois.
They did. I think that's the big key there is they beat a decent Big Ten baseball team, and they beat them soundly Friday and Saturday, and then, like I said, Monday night, we have the most religious team in the Big Ten because they don't want to show up on Sunday, But they need to figure if they figure out Sunday, if they can figure out the pitching on Sunday, I think this team has the ability to finish in the top 3. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in the Big Ten as baseball season goes on.
I'm encouraged by the watching them and the coverage that we here at Coordination provide. It's like our wrestling coverage. It's second to none. We care. By God, we care. We don't care as much about rifle or badminton, but we care about baseball, and we want you to as well. So, James says that as far as going back to that cover of your lady novel, that Travis Vokalek had the hair for the cover. I don't disagree, and we wish him well. When's the draft?
It's coming up.
It is. So good luck to all those Huskers in the draft. All right, and then one more thing I got here. This is from much earlier in the show. Terrible, just terrible if you're still there. Thanks for sticking around. I pinned this one so far back. He says, I just won a national championship with Nebraska on NCAA 14, so that means we have to win it all next year. That's good. I mean,
I haven't played that. My son has that in his room upstairs, and he still plays it every once in a while.
What? I'm trying to figure. That'd been PlayStation 2 or maybe Xbox 360 back in.
I want to say PS. No, maybe it was PS2.
No, you're right. PS3 would have been out by then. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hell, by that point, PS4 might. I don't know. I'm behind on my gaming systems. I never know when the new one releases. John, we've been at this for over an hour.
We have.
And I don't know. Oh, PS3, James says. Cool. Thanks for the clarification. Anything else?
Oh, I keep thinking we are forgetting something really big. Oh, and I don't know what it is.
No, terrible, just terrible is here. Good. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks to all of you. As I say week in and week out, we know you have a lot of entertainment options on a Wednesday or Thursday night, depending on when we decide to get together, and we appreciate that you are sticking with us. And Joel is right. And I was going to mention that there is a new version of NCAA football coming out this summer.
Is it this summer or is it 2024?
I'm going by what Joel says. Are you calling Joel Tilson a liar? You dirty son of a...
They announced a new airline.
A new airline?
They announced a new airline at the Lincoln Airport.
Okay. Is it Husker Air?
No, it's called Red Way, though. And apparently, what it is it's going to have, like, flights to some cities, like Minneapolis, Austin, Dallas,
for games.
Probably Las Vegas, I think was one of them. I don't remember them all. I just thought, wow, Minneapolis. And my understanding is I could get on a plane on Thursday and fly to Lincoln for $89 and for $25 for a carry-on and then come back Sunday. And that sounds like a whole gob of Nebraska fans from Minnesota would go to games.
I agree. So clarification from Joel says EA Sports NCAA Football 2024. That doesn't answer if it's coming out this summer or next summer.
I think they delayed it a year.
Okay. All right. Well, let's call it a night. I'm sorry, John.
I play a lot of games, and EA is sometimes just. I am really looking forward to an NCAA football game, but I'm also not looking forward to the fact that EA has it. They just can screw up so many games. It's unbelievable.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
The good news is by 2025 or 2026, they might actually get it right.
Joel does clarify it's this summer. Mark your calendars.
This summer?
John, why are you... Now I'm going to have to Google this, man. NCAA...
We can talk about it next week.
Football 2024. Whoop, shit. What can we do? EA Sports to release college football game in summer of 2024. Joel, are you what the hell? The return of... This is from ESPN.com. The return of EA Sports college football video game series now has a time of arrival the summer of 2024. I'm trying to wonder if Joel forget what year we're in.
I do often. I'll just run to rather. Yeah, after you've been alive for decades upon decades, everything just kind of comes a mushy ball of time.
Can I? I don't know if I've shared with you one theory that I've heard of why that is.
Okay.
And it's also why children. So, like, I have a 7-year-old. I know you have kids who are older than that, but they think that Christmas to Christmas 1 year is a super long time because their concept of time is so long because they haven't been around that long. But when you're my age, and God, especially your age, 1 year doesn't seem like much because we've had experienced so many. So like Christmas, December to December for us is all right. Well, it'll be here eventually, but for kids, especially kids with that anticipation, it seems like it's forever.
It's when you're 7, it's 1/7 of your life, and when you're 60, it's 1/60th. A year is 1/60th of your life, and they all just run together like one big mushy thing.
You are not kidding, my friend.
Especially when you spend 2 decades of them with a kind of a football team that never gets as far as you want them to. I don't know how people are Minnesota Vikings fans when I say that. I don't mean to stab anybody in the soul, but my God. Okay.
I'm just throwing a witty comment into James because they're talking about that NCAA 14, and James says comes with the targeting DLC bonus pack, and I said it's called the Nate Gary expansion.
Okay,
John. Can we call it a night? Pop needs a nap.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us here. Look, as we get closer to the spring game, I anticipate we'll have more to discuss, more people joining us, and certainly when we get into the season. I remember last year at times, we had 70 to 100 at one time. So, we're excited for everybody. We have regulars. I know that you and Todd on Monday night, you call them regulars. We are the worst bar in the world because you bring your own beverages, but every time you come in and you see Joel, like Norm, and John and I are here. He's, of course, Sam Malone, and I'm Woody. Don't take anything more away from that than that he's the other bartender. And we just have so much fun hanging out and spending time with you all every week. So I missed you all last week, but at the same time, it was nice to be in Florida where it was 75, 80 degrees and not here where it's 35 and 40 degrees. So thank you all for joining us for another Five Heart podcast. Thank you as always, John, because without you, none of this would be possible. So for that guy, the big man upstairs, as I like to say, hi. I'm Greg Mahochko. This is the Five Heart podcast, where we remind you each and every week that Five Heart is all the heart you need. John?
Go Big Red.
Good night, everybody.